Hey, Margaret.
Yeah, Anton?
You know what people don't talk about enough?
What?
Sara's character has yet to be truly tested. Welcome to People Don't Talk About, Young Royals. I'm Anton, my pronouns are he, they.
And I'm Margaret, my pronouns are they, them.
And we're people here to discuss the show our friends are sick of hearing us talk about.
If that sounds like you, stick around. If your friend sent you this podcast out of a desperate attempt to get you to watch Young Royals, take this as a sign.
Go watch Young Royals, then come back to this podcast.
Anton, what are we talking about today?
Today we'll be having a character discussion of Sara in Season 1, Episode 4, having decided we have no choice but to stand.
Woohoo! In this discussion, we won't be summarizing the plot of the episode, because we already did that. If you need or want a refresher, head back 9 episodes in our feed to our most recent This Week of Hilarishka for a full breakdown. This episode discussion will likely be all over the place, so strap in. You have been warned.
Alrighty. I don't know. We're looking at the episode art for this episode.
Mm-hmm.
And the first thought I had after choosing this episode art was, yet again, this is a little bit of a go girl, give us nothing episode.
Yeah.
Like, Margaret knows what I mean, but I don't know if listeners know what I mean. I think Sara might have done less in this episode than she did in episode 3.
I agree. I think we see a lot less of her for sure.
Yeah, because it's like in episode 3, she's like chastising Simon for making a scene at Parents' Day. She's at Parents' Day. She has that whole thing of like, she actually like steers the plot for once and is like, and like outs Felice to her parents is not enjoying writing.
Mm-hmm.
But like this episode, she really fades into the background.
Yeah.
Like, she's confused by Simon's tutoring. She gets forgiven by Felice and then gets assaulted by August.
Yep.
And that's it.
All right. Thanks for listening.
No, that's it. That's it for what she does in this episode.
No, I know.
And it's like all of those that I listed happened to her.
Yeah.
And it's like none of that tells much of anything about Sara. Again.
Right. No, I agree.
Like, isn't it like basically every single character episode, every single cycle we sit here at Sara's character episode being like, we're standing her because we want to see more from her?
Mm-hmm.
And like at this point in our analysis, I'm getting suspicious and worrying that she's hiding something.
Yeah.
You get what I mean?
I think that's fair.
Because it's like we've been giving plenty of reasons to feel for her. Basically to feel bad for Sara and to think that she's a good sister. But her defining character trait is wanting to fit in.
Yeah. Which can be bad news.
It can be. Like, I mean, we assassinated Felice by calling her Felice the complicit.
Mm-hmm.
And it's like, I mean, we here at PDTA don't have the rosiest interpretation or like rosiest understanding or like most positive understanding of fitting in as a concept or as a motivation.
Mm-hmm.
Because it, especially in this show thus far, it is led to very bad things.
Yeah.
And like, but this being Sara's defining character trait leaves us with a character that by definition doesn't assert herself or present a very unique or specific personality.
Yeah, and it's also somebody who is kind of wishy-washy in their like principles.
Like she's really I don't know how many other ways we can say it. Like she's trying not to make waves.
Mm-hmm.
Like and like a lot like Felice, she's trying to stay in the background.
Yeah.
I think we talked about last episode about Felice being complicated for the degree to which she is conflict-avoidant in a lot of her relationships, but especially with August. And so I think both Sara and Felice appreciate being as far away from drama and conflict as possible.
I agree. And I think Sarah is maybe a bit more successful in that.
Yeah.
Just because Felice is already the popular girl.
Yeah, Felice is already the popular girl, and with her with her mother's molding, she has ambitions.
Yeah.
That are much bigger than Sarah's are.
Mm-hmm.
Like, Felice starts the show wanting to be a princess.
Right.
Sarah starts the show wanting friends.
Yeah. Duality of man.
Like, I think part of why she's faded in the background so much this episode is that she thinks that she's fucked up for a good half the episode.
Yeah.
And then she realizes she hasn't, but I think she feels very precarious. Mm-hmm. Because all it took was one mistake for Felice to drop her.
Yeah.
And so I think she is being very careful now, even after Felice forgives her.
Mm-hmm.
And I think not knowing the stuff about Felice that we do, or not knowing Felice like we do, I can see why Sarah is doing that.
Yeah, I can too.
Or why Sarah would think like that. Like, we know the kind of hurt that like Felice is going into, and we also have now seen that like how forgiving and patient Felice is as a person.
Mm-hmm.
Because it's like, well, I guess Sarah has been here for all the times that Felice has been rejecting August, but I guess she probably hasn't necessarily been privy to, because mostly only Felice's like close friends who have seen August try and fail to get Felice.
Yeah.
And so, and I think to Sarah, a match like Felice and August just makes sense.
Mm-hmm.
Like, top girl on campus, at least among the first years, and then by far top guy on campus. Like, that just makes sense.
Yeah.
Which I think is part of why she is so fucking confused when August kisses her.
Right.
But before we get into that, really, because that I think that deserves its own kind of place towards the end of this character analysis. Mm-hmm. I want to have what I wrote in my notes as a brief treatise on why conflict-avoidant characters are so hard to write and make compelling without internal monologue. Like, okay. And like, I do mean brief, but I didn't want to write out all of my thoughts here because I knew what I wanted to say and I just wrote down that. But basically, imagine, if you will, for a moment, as we've imagined previously, if Young Royals was a book series.
Yeah.
We've talked before about how Willman as a story would be much less compelling, probably, as a book. But think about how much mileage you could get out of Sara as your main character if Young Royals was a book.
You could get a lot.
Because virtually everything Sara does is in her own head.
Yeah.
And with the benefit of, like, every medium has its strengths, and the benefit of novels is unparalleled psychological insight into a character's mind.
Yeah. It's true.
And so a character like Sara is actually great for a book because it, to a degree, allows you someone who doesn't make very many active choices, but is processing the world around them at an alarming rate. Like, who is highly observant.
Yeah.
And is picking things up faster than anyone expects her to.
As long as she is the narrator, at least.
Right. As long as, like, it's told from her perspective. Like, that's what I mean. Like, a main character who is a perspective character, I think you can get a lot of mileage out of her. But when someone who is as conflict avoidant as Sara is a character in a TV show, especially a teen drama.
Yeah. She falls into the background a lot. Yeah,
those are the characters that writers often just don't know what to do with.
Mm-hmm.
And I know at least Frida as an actor was cast last, but I don't know how much Sara as a character was integrated into the story before they started. Like, how long before they started filming was Sara actually a character? Because Sara plays such a minor role that I, like, really wonder how much her arc was fleshed out before the show started. Because it's like, I can see a world in which as they kind of figure out what Frida's strengths are, or as they themselves kind of figure out who Sara is as a character, they decide what they're going to do with her. Yeah. And I think this is yet another and I think they've made. I get the sense they might have started to decide and started moving in the direction of what they're going to do. I'm trying to do this without spoiling, but what they're going to do with her. But I think she is still really giving us nothing in this episode.
Yeah. I think we need to elaborate more on why we are still choosing to stan her, because she's kind of giving us nothing, because we are using a lot of the same arguments as we were with Felice.
Right. And I think really it's I just have no reason to dislike or mistrust her.
Yeah.
I have no within the internal logic of the show, she has done nothing to make me dislike her, mistrust her.
Yeah, I think the main difference for me is that she was never a character we were assassinating.
Yeah.
So she doesn't need to do much for me to just continue to stan.
Yeah, and like I said, we've still been given a lot of plenty of reasons to feel for her, side with her, feel bad for her, see where she's coming from, realizing that she's making mistakes, but fully knowing why she's making those mistakes and not holding it against her.
Right.
Or seeing those as reasons. We never for a moment considered assassinating Sara for what she does to Felice in episode 3.
Yeah. Because
it was not done with ill intent at all.
Right.
And it's nothing Sara ever does has been with ill intent. And she's done,
right.
and episode 3 was basically the first time she ever made a mistake, because a lot of the times she is conflict avoidant to the point of basically not existing in the narrative.
Yeah.
She's giving to me if there is any show that parts of Young Royals remind me of a lot, but even though Young Royals is not really a hot take that many people would disagree with. I think anyone would disagree with. Young Royals is far more better written than this, at least past its first season. Gossip Girl.
Yeah.
Anyone who, I don't know how much Gossip Girl reached beyond America, but Gossip Girl is a teen drama that takes place in America, following the lives of the really, really rich kids in the Upper East Side of Manhattan in New York. And that was my first exposure to wealthy teens. And so a lot of my understanding of Young Royals when I was first watching it was informed by knowing what private school stories at American private schools are for rich kids. And a character that I would really associate with Sara, even though this character is rich, so it's a little bit less. Well, I guess actually, I was thinking of a different character, but there's a character that's actually more applicable here. There's a character, Jenny Humphrey, who is the main character of essentially kind of the Simon of this show, of Gossip Girl. Although that's kind of an insult to Simon, which is not what is intended, because the character is very, very. He's even his own actor hated him by the end of the show.
Hello.
But basically, Jenny Humphrey is the younger sister, which in this case Sara is older, but for all intents and purposes she acts like a younger sister because of the way that Simon protects her. Or at least she's pigeonholed into that role. I don't know if she really tries to act like it. Where basically she ends up falling in the first season with the popular girls. And those popular girls are way less nicer than Felice and her friends are. Yeah. Let's put it that way. And so, but regardless, it is coming from this place of wanting to fit in and wanting friends in this new place and aspiring to more. Something we don't talk about enough, I think, is that Sara and Simon are both aspiring to more. They just differ in what that more is necessarily and how they're going about getting it.
I agree. I think that's a good way of saying it.
Simon is going about getting more for himself in life, financially and career-wise.
Yeah.
Through being himself and just making space for himself.
Mm-hmm.
Sara is trying to just achieve acceptance. And the way that she sees that she's going to get that is trying to assimilate.
Yeah.
Since the first episode, we've seen that she's like asking for new clothes, even though her old ones are not worn to the point of needing new clothes. Like she is, no, actually they are worn. So she ripped through her pants and she's like, I want ones that are more expensive so they don't keep ripping, like so they're not cheap and they don't keep ripping. Like she is seeking to fit in, to assimilate to a degree that Simon does not interest Simon in the slightest.
Right.
But I think it would be a mistake to think that Sara isn't a character who strives. She's just striving in a way more subtle way, and in a way less like active or like outwardly impassioned way than Simon. Like Sara is basically trying to passively get what she wants. And it's been working. And so she's continuing to do so.
Mm-hmm.
But we end this episode with Sara being drawn into huge drama. Like the kind of drama that in many other teen dramas blows up relationships and sometimes ends friendships, no matter how unjustly. Like Felice's Sara was kissed by her best friend's boyfriend, and like we can very clearly call it assault, but something similar happens in a lot of other shows, and it's like it often in a lot of other shows it does not end well for the friendship,
right,
when it gets found out. And so I would think that August kissing Sara is her first real crucible, which is a word that basically means a moment of sudden or like a moment of like sudden change where someone comes out different than they started. I think maybe not different is the word, but like more developed as like more like fully realized as a character, because like telling Felice's parents about writing Rousseau was a big deal in the moment, but like it was resolved relatively quickly in Showtime. And Sara was never really the same. Sara was the same person she was before, after she was before. But like, I really think how Sara handles this new secret could have a major impact on her character going forward.
Yeah, I do agree. I don't really know what else to say about it, though.
No, fair. I went on a Gossip Girl tangent to make this episode a little bit longer for listeners, but I think we're ready for my summary if you have anything else.
I don't think I have anything else. I just don't have a lot of feelings about her this episode, but that being said, I don't have any negative feelings. Exactly.
I have been trying to generate a lot of feelings about the fact that I don't have a lot of feelings.
Yeah.
But again, what that lack of feeling is being replaced by is a sense of suspicion or a sense of anticipation of like, if we know this little about a character, like what are the writers planning for you, or like what is lurking, what like, and if all we know about you is that you want to fit in, that doesn't necessarily
it makes me feel iffy.
Yeah, it makes me feel nervous.
Yeah, but I don't have any like concrete reason to feel nervous, because I feel like if we did, then she'd be complicated.
Right. In summary, Sara is once again largely a non-entity in this episode. And having been given no reason to dislike or mistrust her, we have no choice but to stand. Emphasis on the no choice this time. Like, but I'm starting to get suspicious about how much we really know about Sara and what she is capable of. Her character, in the fictional sense that she is a character, and also in the 19th century social circle sense of like her social character, like who her like what kind of person she is, has yet to be truly tested. Which goes to my cold open, and only then will I feel more definitive about how to categorize her. For me, this is a character standing absent knowing what else to do with her.
Yeah. And do we think that her character being tested could potentially be how she handles if and when to tell Felice that August kissed her?
I think it's at least her like first real test. Like it's like that is our first real test, I think, to determine like what kind of person she is, and to like really more like what does she do with that information?
Yeah.
And not only how does she handle it, but like how does she navigate whatever happens going forward afterwards?
Yeah. Yeah.
Like I think the show has been relatively generous with her so far about not giving her hard decisions.
I agree.
And I think this is her first real hard decision, which is going to be which is how we learn who characters are.
Mm-hmm.
Especially in TV shows where we don't have their inner monologue. Like, but if Young Royals was a novel, we would know who Sara was up at this point if she was a perspective character. But we don't. And so this just leaves her as really a giant mystery that, like, again, we just have no reason to doubt, like, actively within the episode.
Mm-hmm.
But the fact that we've gone this long, that she's one of our core five, like, she's very clearly a main character, but that she has yet to feel like one,
right,
is cause for concern.
Yeah.
Anything else, Dad?
No.
Okay. Sorry for a short one, listeners. We kind of run out of bonus episode ideas for this time, but we have a really good one for this week's for the This Week Hilarska after the float for the cycle. So thank you for listening. If you'd like to keep up to date with when we release new episodes and other pod-related announcements, you can check our Instagram or our threads at People Don't Talk About. Our next episode will be Privilege Punishment for Season 1, Episode 4. So stay tuned. And with that, all that's left to say is...
Let's start a revolution, baby.